Peter Doocy corners Karine Jearn-Pierre. Juan Williams and Karl Rove duke it out on Fox News. Joe Rogan says vote Republican, and Antifa is back. All that and more here on The Bald Brad Show. Welcome to The Bald Brad Show. It is Tuesday, August 30th, and as always, I couldn't be happier than to spend these fine mornings doing The Bald Brad Show and hanging out with all of you, my friends and true American patriots, where we come together as a community of conservatives and Republicans, go over the stories of the day, and bring you all the news and information you need to know about. So heck, if you want to join us here at The Bald Brad Show, like I said, we got an awesome community of conservatives and Republicans. We can support one another. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. If you're over at Rumble, hit the plus and give us a comment down below. And if you're listening on any of the podcast airwaves, Apple, Google, Spotify, heck, folks, you find us anywhere and everywhere, leave us a lovely 5-star review. Not only would you be helping a conservative, but most importantly, you'd be supporting getting conservative thought and ideas out there to new viewers who haven't seen our content or our channel. So your help and support would be greatly appreciated. With that being said, folks, we got a banger of a show for you today. All video clips, not a ton of articles here. And our lead story of the day is Peter Doocy just really going after Karine Jearn-Pierre here. The opening question has her fumbling through her words, doesn't answer the question, and he just continues to berate her. It is a sight to behold, folks. This is one you're not going to want to miss. Let's go ahead and roll the clip of Peter Doocy, the gladiator, going after White House Press Secretary Karine Jearn-Pierre.
I know, I'm going to take him. That's why I could have walked away and not taken your question, Peter, but I would take your question.
I'll make it worth it.
I'm sure you will.
Different topic.
Okay.
How come migrants are allowed to come into this country unvaccinated, but world-class tennis players are not?
You're talking about which world-class tennis player?
Novak Djokovic.
So, as far, just since you asked me about him. So, visa records are confidential under U.S. law. Therefore, the U.S. government cannot discuss the details of individual visa cases. Due to privacy reasons, the U.S. government also does not comment on medical information of individual travelers as it relates to the tennis player. Look, the questions regarding vaccination requirements is I defer you to CDC. This is a CDC requirement for foreign nationals. This is something that they decide. This is something that is up to them. The U.S. Open and their participant protocols, I'd refer you to them. They have their own specific protocols as well. So they're two different things.
She never answered the question. And no, they are not two different things. But Peter Doocy's going to follow up here.
They're two different things.
But so how is it two different things? Somebody unvaccinated comes over on a plane. You say that's not okay. Somebody walks into Texas or Arizona unvaccinated. They're allowed to stay. Why?
But that's not how it works. Like we actually no.
I know that that's not what you guys want to happen, but that is what is happening.
But that's not. It's not like somebody walks over and that's not how.
Exactly
What? Did I hear that correctly? Did she just say that it's just not exactly like they're walking over? Is anybody else as dumbfounded as I am on that statement that she just gave? You literally have over 200,000 people a month, literally with their feet walking across the border. Like, lady, you've literally let in millions of people at this point by them walking across the border. What are you talking about? It only gets worse.
What's happening? Thousands of people are walking in a day. Some of them turn themselves over. Some of them are caught. Tens of thousands a week are not. That is what is happening.
So let me just lay out what we have done under this administration. We have installed new border technology and set up joint protocols with Mexico and Guatemala to catch more human traffickers. We have already made over 3,000 arrests in the first 3 months of launching an unprecedented anti-smuggling campaign with regional partners.
3,000 arrests, folks, in months, not like a day. Remember, Texas sees anywhere from 6 to like 15,000 people a day. She's talking about months, multiple months. They've only made 3,000 arrests. Well, Peter, let's talk about what we've done. You can't make this up. You really can't. It's that bad.
We've secured record levels of funding for the Department of Homeland Security. We've put in place dedicated immigration judges so asylum seekers can have their cases heard faster. We've expanded labor pathways, including H-2B visas. And through the Los Angeles Declaration on Migration and Protection, President Biden brought 20 world leaders together to manage increased migration flows across the Western hemispheres. By contrast, core to the prior administration, immigration strategy was to build a wall, and they couldn't even accomplish that in the 4 years. And they also, by talking about building a wall, which would have taken billions of dollars from veterans, billions of dollars from schools, which is also a policy that just does not work. It is not that simple. It's not just that people are walking across the border. We have a plan in place. This is not like switching the lights on, right? This is going to take a process. We are fixing a broken system that was actually left by the last administration. And as
I'm done. I am done. You gotta be kidding me. She's now blaming Trump. She just laid out all these things that they did. We saw this massive issue, this immigration crisis, the U.S.-Mexico border. And not only do her policies and everything they implemented not work, but she's going to blame Trump for not finishing the wall in 4 years. And then she's going to blame it on him for the shitstorm that they created. Folks, this might be the top video that we've done right now between Peter Doocy and Karine Jearn-Pierre in terms of her blatantly gaslighting everybody. I think this is the top one by far. I'm so bewildered right now that she is willing to get away with this and allowed to get away with it. Where's the press on this? I mean, everybody should be running this story of how she just outright said that people aren't walking across the border. There's no difference between the tennis player CDC guidelines and COVID-19 vaccinations versus illegal immigrants getting to stay here. She just blamed Trump for the things that are happening now under the Biden administration.
it relates to the tennis star, that is totally different. That is a different process. That is the U.S. Open that he is part of, and there are CDC federal guidance that he needs to follow.
But why is there a CDC requirement for people that fly here as opposed to people that cross the southern border?
Look, we have talked about Title 42, right?
This has nothing to do with Title 42.
It is. Title 42 is the CDC imperative.
And you guys got rid of it because you said the pandemic.
That is not how it works. It is not. Title 42 is very much in place, and that is the process. So there is a CDC provision for folks coming through the southern border. It is not just for tennis players. Migrants have also a CDC guidance that we have to follow, which is Title 42. So that is not the case. That is factually wrong. Okay.
What? So now she's going to lie about Title 42? I mean, literally in the span of a couple minutes, everything she pretty much said, other than maybe what they've done in terms of policy-wise and, giving more funding to Homeland Security and all these things, which has just done a phenomenal job right at the U.S.-Mexico border. Everything they've done is clearly working here. How many lies did she say in a span of a minute? I don't think there was a single thing other than those few things that she did say in terms of that list that was probably factual. And then at the end, she's going to say Peter Doocy isn't factual. When she literally said people are not walking across the border, that's not what's happening here. Then how the hell are they getting here? The vast majority of them. Folks, honest to God, is anybody with me on this? Was this not the craziest thing you've seen in a while? I mean, if Fox News doesn't run this, like it's breaking news, I don't know. But there you have it. Probably the craziest White House press secretary we've seen in decades here. Karine Jearn-Pierre lying about illegal immigration, lying about the differences between illegal immigrants and people coming across the border with their vaccinations. It is so wild. It is so wild that they continue with this gaslighting the charades at the U.S.-Mexico border. No wonder they only consider it a challenge and not a crisis, because clearly they don't know what the hell is going on at the U.S.-Mexico border, because she thinks people are somehow floating across the border rather than walking across. So in other news here, we have Juan Williams and Karl Rove clashing it out. I mean, duking it out on Sunday over President Joe Biden's harsh condemnation of Americans who support former President Donald Trump. Now, there's a little bit of a background here that we got to cover before we get to the clip. But speaking at a political rally last week, Biden claimed that MAGA Republicans are committed to destroying America. Not Antifa, not Black Lives Matter, the two groups that pretty much were, lighting cities on fire, looting and pillaging businesses, Black businesses, Hispanic businesses, white businesses, causing billions of dollars in damages, quite literally destroying America. Whereas you had a few idiots go and storm the Capitol, and that's what they want to hyper focus on. Not the months and months, if not years, of just damages that were done by Antifa, Black Lives Matter, progressive left, and Democrats. We'll just completely ignore that. Quote, the MAGA Republicans don't just threaten our personal rights and economic security. They're a threat to our very democracy, Biden changed. They refuse to accept the will of the people. They embrace political violence. They don't believe in democracy. Really? It seems like you are the party under Hillary Clinton that didn't want to accept the election. It's your party that constantly wants to get rid of the Electoral College, which helps with a democracy. It seems like you want to get rid of capitalism and implement socialism. We just recently saw that with the student loan debt forgiveness, which in a nutshell is socialism, redistribution of wealth as well. So it seems like you're the one that wants to destroy democracy. It seems like you don't want to protect our borders. It seems like you want our whole economy to go down the dumps and down the drains with your policies as well. So, but there again, it's always the Republicans' fault. It's always the conservatives' fault here. Biden also told attendees at a DNC committee event that adherents to MAGA philosophy are embracing semi-fascism. Yes, you heard that correctly. The very people where Antifa and Black Lives Matter go with their party, meaning the Democrat Party, that actually practice forms of fascism and sometimes communism, Black Lives Matter actually came out and said they were Marxists, actual Marxists, the founders of Black Lives Matter, but he's going to say that Republicans and conservatives are semi-fascist? Quote, we are seeing now is either the beginning or the death knell of an extreme MAGA philosophy. It's not just Trump, Biden said. It's the entire philosophy that underpins, I'm going to say something, it's almost like semi-fascism, the way in which it deals. Well, obviously, this had a lot of backlash, and you got Karl Rove on Fox News going at it with Juan Williams. And Williams tried to defend Biden's accusations by noting they came after the January 6th, suggesting the context of Trump's refusal to accept the 2020 election results and the subsequent U.S. Capitol riot are justification for Biden's remarks. And you got Karl Rove stepping into the mix here saying, not going to fly, and basically calling out Juan Williams for what he said here. Let's go ahead and roll it.
President Biden was attacking Republicans generally. He was not talking about the people who assaulted the Capitol that sits to the south of us here. He was attacking the entire party. And you saw that in Cedric Richmond's comments, who said, well, we're really sort of big. We're willing to work with the semi-fascist Republicans on issues of common ground. This was not in keeping with what the president promised us. My whole soul is in it, he said as an inaugural, bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation. That was after January 6th. We must see each other not as adversaries but as neighbors. We should treat each other with dignity and respect. He was not treating his political opponents with dignity and respect.
Clearly was speaking to Pete. He said clearly, I'm not talking about conservative Republicans.
He didn't say that.
He said that.
Never passed his lips.
They did. And also he clearly acted at people who weren't neighborly and attacked the Congress.
Okay.
Clearly, the gaslighting is contagious, and Karine Jearn-Pierre clearly has that emanating off her, because you had Juan Williams gaslighting everybody, saying that Biden said something in which, in fact, he never said it. And you heard Karl Rove say it never left his lips. He never said those words, but it's not going to stop the Democrats from lying to your face about things. Outright lying. So who's right here? It's Karl Rove. The transcript of Biden's remarks show that Rove is right, and Biden did not say he was not referring to conservative Republicans. Remember, you just had Juan Williams say that very thing, that's what Biden said. Turns out transcript never said it. In his DNC speech, Biden condemned Maryland gubernatorial Republican nominee Dan Cox, who is a Biden-endorsed nominee, and a MAGA Republican and someone who is not a traditional conservative Republican. I'm not going to leave it up to Biden to tell me who's Republican, who's MAGA, and all this other stuff. Biden can't even tie his own shoes at this present time. He's a non-sentient human being. I'm not going to believe anything that guy says. I mean, literally, James Klug was going around in Huntington Beach asking questions of people of what they think about Joe Biden's basically handling of everything, and the majority of people laughed. And it wasn't all Republicans and conservatives. There was Democrats and independents that were just laughing because Joe Biden's a joke. Joe Biden doesn't care one bit about this country, and you see it through his mouthpiece, Karine Jearn-Pierre. Like I said in that last segment with Peter Doocy, you just clearly saw the gaslighting, and that's rolling over here with Juan Williams on Fox News, pretending like Biden said something that he never said. And the thing was, him rolling his eyes, it seemed like he actually really believed it. That's the sad thing, is that he concocted this whole thing in his imagination, and all of a sudden it has to be real. In the same way that Karine Jearn-Pierre, in her imagination, thinks that people aren't actually walking across the border. Then how the hell are they getting here? How did over 22 million people just all of a sudden wind up illegal immigrants into our nation? That's a lowball number, folks. 22 million is a lowball number. Well, this is clearly, you would think, creating a big red tsunami like we've been talking about, like a massive red wave. Well, here you have Joe Rogan in the same podcast when Aaron Rodgers was talking about COVID-19, the mishandling of it, the lies from Burke and Anthony Fauci to the public that, hey, basically, if you got the vaccine, you wouldn't contract it, you wouldn't have symptoms, and basically everything would be figured out. No, they lied to everybody. They sold us on a big, fat lie. Well, podcast host Joe Rogan advised Americans who were forced to shutter their doors, close their businesses, and harassed over COVID-19 mandates during the pandemic to vote Republican. Why is this such a big deal? Is because you have Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's not a Republican. Joe Rogan is not a conservative. He's maybe middle left, but he's telling people to vote Republican. That's how bad things have gotten when you have Joe Rogan on the side of the red saying, hey, you need to go out. And who's he focusing on? Ron DeSantis of Florida, saying, look what that guy's doing. Clearly, the Republicans know how to handle things. Clearly, Republicans know how to govern. Look at any of the Democrat-ran cities. Los Angeles, Chicago, Seattle, Portland, New York City, Washington, D.C. That is just a few of almost all of them that have been ran right into the ground. Crime-ridden, murder rates up, robberies up, crime, just drug use, crimes just all together just skyrocketing. You have businesses in San Francisco that are now saying, hey, we're not going to pay taxes until the officials clean up this city because you have homeless problem outside their stores. They're throwing their feces on the windows. They're throwing their feces at customers, harassing customers. Customers basically aren't coming in their business, so the business is losing money. But it's funny because it's the very policies that they vote in. They wanted Prop 47. They wanted this type of crime. They wanted homeless to be able to stay on the streets because they felt bad for them. I'm sorry, I'm not saying homeless. I meant unhoused, according to Democrats. That's a politically correct term. We don't want to get banned or censored here on YouTube for anything we say. So sorry, it's unhoused. It's not supposed to be homeless anymore. Well, Rogan's comments came on Saturday during an episode with NFL star Aaron Rodgers, who infamously declined to get the jab. And by the way, he was discriminated against so hard. And we talked about this on yesterday's episode where you got the Democrats and the progressive left going, oh, well, we can't discriminate against people. It's bad to discriminate against people. All the while when conservatives, Republicans were being discriminated against by the very people that are supposed to be anti-discrimination, like for 3 years, and still are being discriminated against for not getting the jab or the vaccine. It's so mind-blowing how nobody talks about that from the Democrat Party, the progressive left. Over a 3-hour conversation, the two jested about legacy media corporations praising vaccination as the solution to the global pandemic, and politicians who broke their draconian mandates, primarily in Democrat-ran cities and states. Cool, I hope there are lessons learned in this. This is a new thing. And Joe Rogan goes on here to talk more about the COVID-19 and voting for Republicans. I want to go ahead and play that for you all right now with Aaron Rodgers. Let's go ahead and get this queued up for you. Let's roll.
No one who is alive today had ever experienced a true pandemic. And I'm hoping that now that this is over, people are going to, recognize that some serious errors were made and not repeat those. That's the best you can get out of it.
So what do you tell those people?
Vote Republican. That's what a lot of them are going to do anyway.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, more than 1 million people transferred over to the Republican Party, I think in 2021 alone. Find out what that number is. But, you look at guys like Ron DeSantis, who kept Florida open and had some pretty reasonable policies in terms of like what to do about COVID. And, he mapped it out on television. He was, widely criticized for this, where he was saying, like, we need to protect our elders. We need to, make sure that medical care is available for those people, and everyone else, you should be able to do whatever you want to do and protect your freedom. No one who is alive today.
He's not wrong. And that's the thing, he's not wrong. He's actually speaking logic and reason here. But there's also an issue with that of terms of voting Republican, and this is where y'all need to kind of listen up, and I mean that very seriously, is because we're talking about a red tsunami and all those things, and it might not be an actual tsunami or really a big wave here, and we'll get to that in just one moment. But if you listen closely, he talked about kind of the shift in numbers from one party to another. So according to a voter registration data analyzed by the Associated Press, more than 1 million voters across 43 states have politically shifted towards the Republican Party. Sounds all good. Again, just hold on one moment. The same data showed about 630,000 of the 1.7 million voters who changed their party affiliation registered Democrats. The shift has likely come from the Democrats' rhetoric in response to the pandemic and the Biden administration's record high gas prices and open border crisis, on top of record inflation, 40-year record inflation, that's still at 8.5%. You also have PBS reporting that the Republican National Committee chair told the Associated Press in June that American suburbs would trend red for future cycles. Quote, Biden Democrats who woefully out of touch with the American people, and that's why voters are flocking to the Republican Party in droves. The Wall Street Journal also reported that an economic study released in April 2021 showed the pandemic results in roughly 800,000 U.S. establishments permanently closing during the first year of the viral outbreak, 200,000 more than in a typical recent year. And then Rogan goes on to talk about, as you just saw in the episode, kind of praising Ron DeSantis for his policies and the things that he did and the reasonable policies that he implemented. Now, here's the problem, is listening to Ben Shapiro's podcast on Monday morning, that red wave or tsunami isn't so much a wave or tsunami at all. This kind of surprised me as well, because you're hearing a lot of things from Fox News and other outlets, including So Am I. But he's bringing up the poll numbers here and kind of what's going on with the data, which I love as a stats teacher and mathematician. And he's saying here that basically what we thought would be very, just massive has shrunk down a lot within August here. And we're continue to seeing this type of shrinking in Georgia and other places around the nation where, yes, we might be winning a little bit, but we're not winning by a lot. And we're looking at the House and the Senate, and it's going to be close, you guys. So don't believe kind of everything you're hearing, because if Shapiro's data is correct, and again, I don't see him lying and twisting and manipulating the data. If anything, you would think that one would do that in our favor. We need to get out there to the polls. We need to vote here, folks, because this is not one of those things. We don't want to turn into the whole Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, where Democrats stayed at home. Democrats did not come out to vote for Hillary. Republicans came out and voted for Trump. And it ain't looking good if we're going to continue and sit back here and not vote red and not vote Republican. And that's what we're seeing right now. Things are getting close here. You need to spread the word to your friends that now is not a time to be sitting back and relaxing, because everyone's been spreading, including myself. Oh, red wave, look at us. We got this. Everything's in the bag. It's not looking like that, folks. The gap is closing here. And the closer that we get to November, we still got about a month and a half, 2 months here. We got to pick it up here. You got to start contributing. You got to start donating. You got to start helping here your local communities, wherever Republicans or conservatives at. It's a big deal. That's why I've always been pushing this about getting conservative thought and ideas out there to new viewers at the beginning of the episode, of liking and subscribing, because we need to get our voices heard. We need to get the red wave out. A lot of people are kind of pushing the wrong thing now of, we're good. We got this. Look at what we're doing. Keep your head up, folks, because you don't want to get lax like the Democrats with Hillary Clinton with the 2022 midterms. And news is Trump's not looking like a good candidate for the Republican Party here in 2024 either. He still has January 6th riding on his coattails. As much as you and I don't really think it's a problem, as much as you and I going, it's not a big deal. He said, peacefully protest, do all these things. I'm on board with that. But you got to understand what other people are thinking. You got to think about what the suburbs, all the women in the suburbs, or even the men in the other areas, you have to look at the Latinos and the black vote as well, what they think about everything. And Donald Trump, he's as much as we love him, he might not be the best candidate. Where if you're looking at Ron DeSantis, I think you got a lot of people, even in the Democrat Party and independents, like Joe Rogan, that are willing to vote for the guy and shift over just from his handling and governing of Florida. So be aware of that. I'm going to try to do some more news segments throughout the week or closer to the election on kind of maybe where we're at and go over the data myself in terms of what the 2022 midterms are going to look like. Are we actually going to win back the Senate? Are we going to have the House? What are things actually going to look like here? And it might be closer, again, than you think. Well, in our last story of the day, just when you thought Antifa was staying in their parents' basement and they were hiding, well, now they're back out here causing a bunch of ruckus, causing a scene, protesting, going after police officers, doing all sorts of stuff. Antifa and radical leftists descended upon a straight pride parade event in Modesto, California over the weekend in an attempt to shut it down. But cops in riot gear also showed up and reportedly fired pepper spray bullets and beanbags at the enraged counter-protesters who were forced to retreat from their unlawful assembly. Again, unlawful. We got video of this, folks, and it's quite long, so I actually want to play it. It is a couple minutes, but I think it's important to show and emphasize who Antifa is and the destruction that they cause this great country. We saw them burn down freaking cities. We see them breaking, businesses' windows, going in and looting in conjunction with Black Lives Matter. This is an outgrowth of the Democrat Party here. And you got to remember, Joy Behar in The View said, oh, well, these people don't exist. They're just an idea. They're not just an idea. They have active recruitment. They have actual books that you can get on their recruitment and their tactics. You had Andy Ngo go in and infiltrate them and do an entire book called Unmasked, which was exposing Antifa and the things that they've done, which are the actual fascists. But according to Joe Biden, it's the Republicans that are semi-fascist. Even though you have Antifa doing fascist tactics, doing certain things that mimic 100% fascism, but they're not called the fascists. And which is odd too, because Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire, if you read his book, he's talked about this quite at length on the show as well, he doesn't even consider Antifa fascist. I'm not on board with that. I think Antifa is fascist. If you look at the way they do their tactics, the way they dress, the things they mimic, is very much the very same things the fascists did under Mussolini. So let's go ahead and roll this clip here of the actual protest, police coming in, using tear gas, doing all sorts of stuff with them. Here we go. So for those that are listening, some guy just broke a picket sign over a guy's back, and there's smoke everywhere. Hundreds of people.
In the name of the people of the state of California, I command all those present assembled at this location in front of Planned Parenthood to immediately disperse. If you do not do so, you will be arrested. Go south from here. Everyone in front of Planned Parenthood, go south from here. You have 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
And now they're trying to... Looks like they're trying to fight with the police a little bit here. Yelling at him, screaming. Police are shooting pepper pellets at him. Or beanbags.
Get back.
I would like to point out, you see that umbrella there? And just watch certain things that they're carrying, because you had these Antifa members and this group that came out to do an anti-protest against the ones that are protesting. And you can't actually carry that. We'll get into that moment. I'll show you the pamphlet itself, but hold on to that idea of the umbrella and other stuff here, because they aren't supposed to be carrying that. We'll get into that in one moment.
Get out of the road or you'll be arrested. Move.
I'm going to turn it down just a little bit for you, folks. It's just a bunch of screaming. So there's people still there. The officer said, hey, you got 5 minutes to clear out. This is an unlawful assembly, but they don't want to listen. And it sounds very reminiscent when people get, tackled by police, or they get beat up by police for resisting arrest, all sorts of things. They don't want to listen, and then they're shocked when they get freaking hit in the face with a beanbag gun or a pellet or whatever it may be. Then they're all upset and they want to file a lawsuit and all this other stuff. No responsibility for their actions whatsoever. So they're all wearing freaking pride flag apparel, masks. So carrying signs, abortion rights. One says only the struggle has won women's rights. They have like a guy throwing, which I actually agree with that sign in the back, throwing the Nazi sign into the trash. All for it. It's amazing because there are some things that they do that we actually agree with in terms of like some of their signs with throwing the Nazi flag. Nobody likes Nazis. We literally fought an entire war over Nazis. So I don't know what they're playing at. I mean, I guess they think that straight pride is somehow Nazi or something along. I have no idea. I try to make sense of some stupidity things that they push here, but trying to make sense out of something that you're just not going to make sense out of. So what's the details involving all this? Well, interestingly enough, police estimated that the straight pride parade at 30-ish people and their opponents brought anywhere from 125 to 150. So basically 5 times or more as much. No surprise, as local Antifa got itself into the lather, gleefully tweeting about how to shut down straight pride. They sent out like this tweet that has items banned, what to bring, safety tips. But I want you to look at the banned items here. And I don't know if we're going to be able to get a good shot of this. I want to try to bring it up for all of you. So it says what to bring: signs, banners, pride flags, noisemakers, chalk, etc. Water, rainbow/pride attire, which I'd kind of documented in that clip there verbally. But banned items, look at it says Modesto City Council has banned certain items during the event. Bring at your own risk. Not that, no, you shouldn't bring these, but kind of like bring at your own risk, like nice little wink. Poles/sticks of any material bigger than, and it gives the size and diameter. Umbrellas, which we saw. Cardboard signs more than a 1/4 inch thick. And shields, gas masks, bandanas, helmets, and body armor. Man, it sounds like a lot of the things that Antifa wears, and some of which they had. We literally saw a guy crack a picket sign over a dude's back. Like just completely just shellac the guy. But, they're going to bring these things, which is a typical thing from Antifa. I mean, they got all sorts of stuff here, folks. Look at this. How can you help boost the flyer in social media? Promote in your meetings, group chats, newsletters. But remember, Antifa is just an idea, according to Jay Behar in The View, and also Joe Biden. They don't exist. It's all a made-up thing. Everything that I'm showing you, that video, Antifa, Andy No's book, the footage that Andy No has, and the rest of the media, all these signs, it's all a figment of your imagination. None of this is real. We just saw in our first clip of this episode, folks, Karine Jearn-Pierre gaslighting us on things. You saw Juan Williams said things about Joe Biden that Joe Biden never said. You have Joy Behar in The View saying they're just an idea. They're not real. You have Joe Biden doing the same thing. So everything I'm showing you, folks, you're actually just miraculously, magically seeing that with your own eyes. It's amazing. For individuals, come to the protest, boost the flyer on social media, tell your friends, and make plans to show up together. I mean, honestly, it's kind of a garbage flyer. I don't really like making fun of people's artwork, but man, it's not, I mean, you could put a little bit more effort in it. So that's what they have there. I want to see if there should be one more here. Yeah, safety tips. Come with your friends and stay together. Travel in groups when arriving/leaving. You may want to wear normal clothes and change into pride gear once you're in the crowd. Normal times they come into regular gear and then they'll switch into all black if they're Antifa. Get to know the area and be vigilant of your surroundings. Wear a medical mask to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Dress for the heat and stay hydrated to prevent heat stroke. I don't know if you saw that clip at the very beginning with that one officer dude just going crazy with the paintball gun with the pellets of pepper spray, just point blank, just unloading. I love cops should do that more. Look, if you're unlawfully protesting and you're not leaving the area, you should have a right to light up those people. Both Republican, conservative, Democrats, independents. If you're breaking the law and you're not doing something you're supposed to, and they give you a warning of 5 minutes and you still haven't left, beanbags, pellets, like the whole shebang should just be unleashed as a volley on people and just have fun with it. Because at that point, you gave them a warning. They don't want to listen. Hey, you know what? Then it's up to them. Bring at your own risk. In other words, go at your own risk because now you're getting lit up. And I love that clip of that officer doing that. It was the 4th consecutive year that straight pride demonstrators gathered in front of the Planned Parenthood building on McHenry Avenue, the Bee said, adding that last year violence broke out as well. In fact, the paper said things got physical nearly 2 hours before the event, which was scheduled for noon on Saturday. The Bee reported that a scuffle broke out when a Proud Boy tried pushing past police, citing a straight pride supporter named Richard who didn't identify as a Proud Boy. Counter-protesters threw water bottles in retaliation, the Bee said, adding that at a blast of fireworks went off as well. I'm not a part of the Proud Boy stuff. The founder of Proud Boy, I don't know if he's on Joe Rogan's podcast or he's on another podcast, but they basically asked him about this whole like racism thing, because the left will keep saying Proud Boys are racist, you know, and all these other things. He literally said they're not racist. They're not for like that Nazi stuff, that they're not like the white power people that the left is making them out to be. I'm not a Proud Boy. I'm not, I have no affiliation whatsoever with them. I'm just basing and giving you the information that I know of, that I've heard of from the founder of Proud Boys. But they're going to still push the same agenda on the Proud Boys as they do like Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles. I mean, anybody that bashes them, including myself probably one day, they just call us racist. None of us are racist. We want people to succeed in this country. We want, regardless of race, regardless of religion, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of whatever, we just want you to be successful. We just want you to do well. And I don't know why that's such a problem for the left to grasp. And I don't understand how they haven't got that message yet. I mean, Ben Shapiro can be only so clear. I can only be so clear. I want you to succeed. I don't want people to be racist. I don't like racism. It is evil. But for some reason, even as clear as you can be, it's not good enough for them, and they'll still call you racist. It's so baffling. Modesto Police Department spokeswoman Sharon Bear told the paper a smoke bomb caused a bush to catch fire, leading cops to declare the event an unlawful gathering. What are you doing with the smoke bomb? Like, what are you doing with that umbrella? Is it too hot out for you? Like, what are you doing with all this stuff? You know, why are you cracking a sign over a guy's back? More than 25 officers in tactical gear soon arrived. I mean, they showed up ready to go. Police fired pepper spray bullets, and counter-protesters reportedly injured at least 2 people, the paper said. Well, you probably shouldn't have been there. When they said leave, you probably should have what? Oh, you probably should have left. That's right. Adding that cops also used beanbag guns, which looked like orange shotguns. I mean, just pumping them right in the chest. Like I said, I don't care if you're Republican or conservative. If they deem it unlawfully, light them up. If I was there and you said you need to disperse, if you don't do so, we got all this stuff and we're going to use it, I would be expected to be, hit with pepper spray, paintball pellets that have pepper spray in them, beanbags. Like, that's my expectation. So good. Some people got hurt. You shouldn't have been there in the first place. 3 people were arrested as of Saturday afternoon for failure to disperse, Baird told the Bee, adding that 2 were aligned with straight pride and 1 was a counter-protester. None of the arrestees are local to this county, so they just shipped these people in. Quote, they came to us with batons. They jabbed us. They hit us. They hit the crap out of us. Oh, can I just reread that because it comes from a counter-protester? They came at us with batons. They jabbed us. They hit the crap out of us. They just beat the shit out of us. According to one counter-protester who got nailed by a pepper spray bullet, declining to give his name of the Bee. Of course he wants to decline to give his name because he's probably from Antifa. They don't want to give their name. They're not even real. I don't even know why I'm bringing it up. Bring up their name. They're not real. All this is our figment of our imagination, you guys. It's just an idea. You're making all this stuff up. The president of Modesto Police and the county sheriff's personnel grew, the paper said, adding that officers formed a line and pushed counter-protesters back while the police forced and SWAT vehicles and the truck as well, equipped with cameras, basically just forced all these people back, which you guys saw in the clip itself. So there you have it. You have craziness going on with Antifa while Biden's in office. But remember, as you heard, Biden's supposed to bring everybody together. He's supposed to be the message of hope. Very similar to his predecessor, Barack Obama. Just supposed to end everything. We're all supposed to be seeing kumbaya as the president drives this country into the ground, drives the foreign policy into the ground. Everything's failing all around him. And somehow, Democrats are still keeping things close in these elections, you guys. It is that serious. Think about it. Joe Biden, as we all agree here on the Bald Brad Show, sucks at his job. He is terrible. Doesn't know how to do a damn thing. Literally a actual non-sentient human being running office. We don't know who's running the show. We don't have specifics. But his other person that could be in line is Kamala Harris. She sucks as well. Can't figure anything out. Republicans are doing such a bad job in the Senate and the House, you guys, that we are still close here. There's not going to be a red tsunami. There's not going to be a red wave if we keep up this type of stuff. We need to get the message out. That's why these types of shows are so important. The left dominate us in the culture. We need to get Ben Shapiro out there. We need to get the Bald Brad Show out there, Steven Crowder, all these shows, regardless of if they censor us or not, we need to support one another. And that's why I still watch Steven Crowder. I watch Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, Andrew Klavan. I spend my time trying to watch everybody's show, yes, learning, but also supporting other conservatives out there. Folks, you're doing a phenomenal job. I don't want to make it seem like you're not. I just want to put an emphasis on we're not as close to winning this thing as we might think. Folks, as always, hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure to leave a comment down below. It does help the YouTube algorithm. And I will see you tomorrow here on The Bald Brad Show.